Imagine standing in a medieval village as winter tightens its grip. The ground frozen solid, crops long gone, animals already slaughtered, and yet somehow people survive. Not for days, but for months, even through winters colder than anything most of us experience today. And here's the paradox that should stop you cold. It wasn't fire or fur coats that saved them first, it was food, carefully chosen, prepared and trusted in ways that sound strange now. And the mystery is this: how did medieval people eat in a world without refrigerators, supermarkets or vitamins, when one mistake could mean starvation or death? And why did some foods quietly become lifelines, while others vanish from memory? Because if you really step into that moment, you realize winter wasn't just a season. It was an enemy, and every meal was a calculated gamble between survival and disaster. To understand how medieval food saved lives, you have to imagine Europe between the 9th and 14th centuries, when winters could stretch endlessly, harvests were unpredictable, and famine was a constant shadow, and people didn't think of food as pleasure first, but as protection, warmth, and endurance. So over generations, communities learned which foods could outlast snow, rot, and hunger. Passing this knowledge quietly from parents to children, monasteries to villages, because grain shortages, little ice ages, and frozen rivers forced experimentation. And slowly, through trial, error, and loss, people discovered that certain foods, thick porridges, fermented vegetables, salted meats, dried legumes, and dense breads did more than fill the stomach. They stabilized the body, kept energy steady, and reduced illness when fresh food vanished. And what's haunting is that much of this knowledge wasn't written down. It was lived, memorized, and trusted because lives depended on it. Now imagine the process itself, step by step, because this wasn't accidental survival, it was deliberate. Almost scientific in its own way. First came preservation. Grains dried thoroughly, ground into coarse flour that resisted mould, then cooked slowly into thick gruels that released energy over hours, not minutes. Next came fermentation, where cabbage became sauerkraut, milk became hard cheese, and these foods didn't just last longer, they became easier to digest and richer in nutrients when fresh vegetables were impossible. Then there was fat, often overlooked today, but medieval people understood instinctively that fat meant warmth, so lard, butter, marrow and sweet were treasured, added to stews and breads to keep the body fueled through freezing nights. And finally, protein was stretched carefully. Salted fish, smoked meat, dried peas, used sparingly but consistently, creating meals that were boring, repetitive and life-saving. And the secret was balance, not abundance, a rhythm of eating designed to keep the body stable, not full, something modern diets often forget. Here's where it gets unsettlingly relevant, because modern society thinks abundance equals security. Yet medieval food systems were built around resilience, not excess, and you can apply this today without realizing it. Imagine power outages, supply chain disruptions, or extreme weather events, and suddenly shelf-stable, nutrient-dense foods matter again. Slow-release carbohydrates, fermented foods for gut health, fats for sustained energy, and simple cooking methods that waste nothing. And even beyond survival scenarios, medieval winter diets quietly align with modern science. Stable blood sugar, reduced inflammation, gut-supporting fermentation, suggesting that some of our ancestors' poor food may actually support long-term health better than ultra-processed convenience meals. And maybe the biggest lesson is psychological, that food prepared with intention, repetition and restraint can create security even in uncertainty. So, when you ask how medieval food saved lives in the coldest winters, the answer isn't dramatic feasts or miracle ingredients. It's patience, knowledge and respect for limits. A reminder that survival didn't come from fighting winter head-on, but from quietly adapting to it, meal by meal, season by season. And as we face a future shaped by climate uncertainty and fragile systems, these forgotten foods whisper an uncomfortable truth, that resilience often looks simple, humble and unremarkable, until you need it. And maybe that's why these lessons were forgotten, because they don't sell excitement, they sell survival. And if this journey into the past changed the way you think about food, winter or resilience, stay curious, keep learning, and consider sharing the story, because some knowledge is too valuable to freeze into history again.